Engines rise as one growl, then split into separate throats as the column noses into a hedge-choked lane. Each Sherman lifts a low wall of dust under its tracks. Bocage crowds tight, earthen banks topped with thorns and roots 3 meters high, squeezing the world to a tunnel with a sliver of brightness ahead. The map shows a shallow rise, then a crossroads they must seize before their artillery window closes and German batteries wake. Lieutenant Frank Mercer stands half out of the hatch, goggles crusted with dried drizzle, glove on the combing, throat mic hissing. 50 meters to the next bend is all he can see. Everything beyond is a guess, and the clock is already taking a cut. Far back in the command half-track, Seapel Nora Hayes hunches over an SCR 508 that sounds like boiling water. A filament glows dull orange under its humming cage. A bead of moisture clings to the braided lead at the whip's base. She works a handkerchief down the damp, wiping in short, annoyed strokes as other people's engines tremble through her boots. "Alpha 2, say again!" Her voice vanishes in a nasal stutter as the artillery net bleeds over. Corrections to a grid, one ridge too close. She shakes her headset, reseats a gritty plug, then clamps the mic to her lips to bulldoze through mush. The battery meter dips, cold metal, stealing charge. Range collapses at exactly the moment she needs to hold them together. Mercer leans into the crew intercom. Slow for spacing, 20 meters, 30 if dust. On the platoon net, hold at next bend, eyes out for exits, avoid hedgerow cuts that aren't ours. He thinks of last night's grease pencil scrawl, marking safe breaches, and of the Frenchman who rode with them at dawn, his scarred finger jabbing a lane to avoid. The engine's own roar makes him shout into a world that swallows words. Backup drills from before the war rattle through muscle memory. If the radio lies, they'll use the old ways. He reaches into the turret bustle, pulls a canvas roll, and unrolls flags because electricity has a sense of humor. Drizzle at dawn soaked canvas, bled edges between dies, and left the red panel with a bruise along its fold. Sun burns sideways through the hedgerow canopy now. Dust thrown by half-tracks turns light flat, color treacherous. Mercer's glove leaves a dark print as he unrolls the flag. It reads red in his hand. When he lifts it, glare washes it to ochre. He braces, raises the panel high, hold, and tells himself they updated the code months ago. That yellow now means advance. He also knows muscle memory runs deeper than memos. He trusts their eyes over the hum. Sergeant Emile Levine jogs the ditch line a length behind, rifle slung, satchel slapping his hip. He scans for cut roots and dislodged stones, signs of someone forcing a passage under fire. He knows which farm lanes feed into roads, which spots swallowed an American half-squad last week. He's here to steer steel away from killing fields. Limited English makes his gestures heavy. He points with his full arm, throws his weight in front of a bogey when a bend looks wrong. He glances at Mercer's flag because engines drown men. In this dust, the panel looks hayloft ochre, not stop red. His head holds 2 lexicons, partisan codes and manuals, and the overlap is a trap. The lane narrows. Ahead, a notch shows where a rock wall was broken, stones shoved inward by something heavy this morning. Breaches are never clean. Roots hang knotted, and the earth is scuffed deeper than cart ruts. Mercer recognizes the marker. Don't take it unless you bring a storm. He lifts the flag. Hold. And the second Sherman's antenna whip shivers like a wire in distress. That wing commander watches Mercer's hand because his headset is a whisper drowned by the artillery net's nasal "add 100, left 50. Hayes tries to cut in. Hold, hold. It comes through like a voice underwater. The wingman's eyes tell him the flag is yellow in this light. Yellow means go, now, beat the next barrage on the far side. 2 tanks lurch, one on each wing, levering toward the broken stones. Spacing collapses, breathes uneven as drivers fight, not to nose into the leaders. Mercer feels the shift like a change in his own bones. The rumble to his left moves from echo to threat. The shadow of another turret creeps into his peripheral. He pivots on the hatch rim and chops the panel down. Hold. His throat mic flays his chords. 2 and 3. Hold. Hold in the lane. Do not. The set inhales battery sag and drops his words into static. Levine, at the bend, raises his hands to a tight frame, mouth shaping urgency that exhausts snatches. Beyond the breach, under a hedgerow thick as a wall, Oberfeldwebel Kurt Weiss and his crew lie dug into the bank. A POC 40's muzzle peers through a slit hacked in roots, leaves draped to break its edges, dust motes floating where the morning drizzle dried, the shields pressed close to earth. Traverse is tight, not useless. Its field of fire is a rectangle at the lane's end. Weiss tastes damp cloth in his mouth, counts breaths. He expected them to bounce and probe. Instead, dust comes first, then silhouettes. Delay is his brief, not a stand-up fight. Delay opens with a cut. Hayes catches just enough of Mercer to know his order didn't land anywhere useful. The artillery net keeps buzzing over them with the easy confidence of distant men who believe numbers make reality. The SCR 508 wants dry connections. 10 minutes on listen watch has tugged the battery into a stammer. She drags the cable from its cradle and snaps it with a twist, half habit, half superstition. Then knocks the chassis twice, then 3 times, as if joking with ghosts will quiet panic. Vermont training leaks back. If voice fails, go to backup. If backup fails, go to prearranged. She looks at the only clean net left, the one that can hop a hedge, and decides to ride tone through mud. Infantry jogging in the wake of the tanks see smoke bloom low, a pale gray roll that crawls along ruts. It came from their last rifleman testing a captured German flare pistol. He loosed a colored shot on a dare, then a smoke to see what it did. In one unit, red means danger. In another, move to marker. In the partisan bands that used that same pistol last month, it meant constable nearby, and you have 12 breaths. Smoke looks like cover. Men who should hug the hedges step into gray. Their sergeant clutches scruffs and yanks them back by reflex, but momentum is a river and ankles slip when it runs. Mercer's driver grinds down a gear. The sunken lane is a throat. The turret's traverse binds to the angle of the hull. Leaves clatter on the cupola like coins. The loader spins the handwheel anyway, metal teeth chattering, because if those wing tanks break into the wrong gap, they'll silhouette for something with more bite. Mercer bangs the heel of his glove on the hatch ring, transmitting intent with pressure, not air. A line of linen is pinned to a hedge on wooden clips, domestic wash flapping in machine wind. Every cloth in view is saying something, none of it clear. Lavinia sees it clean before Mercer admits it. This light makes red into go. He points to his eyes, then the panel, and shouts the one word that will bite through: John. Yellow? Men nearest don't hear. The nearest man who does, half understands, translates go to the one behind. Emile turns and sprints to the culvert like a man leaving a table he knows will flip. A white sheet and an arm across a body are his grammar from older hills. He sets a boot on the culvert's lip, hauls up for height, knowing he's stepping into sight. Weiss lifts a palm without standing. Hold. The loader kisses the next round to the breech. The gunner fogs his sight with a breath to steady his hands, an old superstition from his father. The muzzle points at a rectangle of green and dust. If a tank fills it, he won't miss. Traverse is only just enough for this lane. If he fires and the next American is quick, they'll crab off and complicate things. The first shot is a promise. He waits for a full silhouette, head-on glances, side plates swallow. Hayes watches Alpha 1's receiver, the only clear one, to use it as a dumb relay. Eyes on a man, man on a man. She strips her pencil's eraser and taps the mic casing with the metal end, counting 3, pause, 3. Halt. She clicks transmit and holds, dead carrier steadying the net long enough to pin attention. The filament's glow bites her eyes. Dust scratches her throat. Mercer registers movement without him when the lead on his right tilts. Front bogies climbing broken stones, belly armor lifting. He barks into the net and hears himself in his own ears. Too late, too loud. You're in a kill lane. Back, back. He brings the panel down, fumbles for another. Cleanest red in the roll. Same die, same flatten. His hand shakes with the effort of reversing a river he started by accident. He squints past the breach and sees the absence that announces presence. A dark muzzle steadying like an eye, framed by roots. He is about to see a language slip and turn lethal while the one he meant fails in his fist. The Pax's breech claps shut like a metal book, and the wrong Shermans heave their noses up a hedge lip they should never have tested. In the green tunnel, the light is a strip of white. The silhouettes that enter read square and high, flashcards for a waiting gunner. The traverse wheel squeaks in a cramped rhythm, no motor, just a man's shoulder, daring the American driver to go a half-length further, to give a clean edge. Dust becomes a second atmosphere. Distances lie. Weiss holds his palm flat by the shield, steadying his crew. He had imagined a racket. Instead, the Americans come as if summoned by a backward order, obedient to a language he doesn't hear. The loader's thumb drags across a case lip to feel the brass seam, an old check that saved more barrels than camouflage saved lives. Weiss counts not seconds, but fractions between bogies clearing the berm. The instant belly shows, and the front slope stops being shadow. He waits through that, because that's when a 75 will bite. Inside Mercer's turret, the set hisses itself into failure. The artillery net crawls into their frequency, men yelling corrections for another fight, and his own orders sound counterfeit. Hayes jerks one earphone half off, jams the other into the bone behind her ear, hard enough to leave a mark. She slaps the radio rack and feels a thin vibration through the chassis, a cheap stethoscope gone to war. The battery is low. Sag warms the metal under her palm. Every syllable has to climb a hill before it falls. Lavigne straddles the ditch stone, boots on old roughwork that remembers another war. His mouth holds a dozen words from gendarme days. Now he throws them at olive drab backs and trusts urgency to cross borders. He sees Mercer's red turn not red, sun and dust conjuring a lie, and feels syntax betray him. Jean pas avance, he hollers, grammar crooked, color clean enough for a child. The one who hears is 3 men back. The lead wrong Sherman's driver stomps for a pedal that can change stories. The lane is stone and throat. Doctrine says 20 meters in a lane like this to keep 1 shell out of 3 men's stories. The head shrinks doctrine to a single-file prayer. He keeps hands light on the tillers. Overcorrect here, and you dig your own grave. Weiss snaps his fingers, a sound small enough to vanish. The loader rams the round home. The breach rises, chemistry impatient to make physics obey. The gunner inhales. The front slope swims into truth, belly shadow a gap like a mouth. Someone in the ditch coughs. The world adds it to its calculus and moves on. Weiss holds one more beat because the last 3 times he fired early, the tank lived long enough to make him pay. Hayes can't make words carry, but she can make rhythm. She yanks the chest mic from its hook, bangs it on the metal box. 3, pause, 3. Then holds transmit down, turning the radio to a tone. The only tank with a clean line echoes the taps. Operator cupping a mic, rebroadcasting into a hull. She meets the corporal's eyes and shows 2 fingers, then 2 again, 2 vehicle lengths. Reverse 2. Mercer hates the flag in his fist for betraying him. He folds it blind and jams it on the turret shelf like he means to bring it back clean for inspection in a world not this one. He clamps the traverser's shoulder, faster, not panic. The loader belongs to panic. Mercer can't afford it in the gunner's hands. He shouts vowel commands that cost less in this noise. There, left, now. 90 decibels chew consonants. Back near the infantry, a flare arcs, washed out red that could mean danger or rally or mark me. The code changed twice this month. The color depends on where you were when a lieutenant poured it into your head. It dissolves into smoke, chalk in the sky. 3 riflemen step into the lane, moving to red like they were taught. The wrong tanks nose further. The second sees the first's error, but knows the lane punishes sudden thought with a belly scrape and a sound that will carry. The loader reaches for traverse out of reflex. The hedge makes a coffin of it. He slams his fist into the hull gun's bail, a gesture that means cut vines, shoot devil's eyes. Both true here. Levine grabs at the farmer's linen he'd pretended not to see, white as the only absolute left. He climbs onto the culvert crown. If you signal from safety, you won't be seen. He unfolds the sheet and tests the backlit dust. It flares pale toward the column and disappears toward the enemy. He plants left foot en route, right on stone, and measures his motion with a precision learned from nights flagging trains you could not light. Hayes hears the battery checkfire request slide into shift 100 north, which might be their lane or the neighbor's. Urgency sharpens to a point. She slaps the radio's face twice, like it's a dozing man. She mashes her mouth to the mic and chews vowels into shapes that survive static. Halt, reverse, 2. Weiss lets his hand drop. The gun kicks, leaves buckle. The blast rolls the hedge like wind. The round hisses, friction making a brief, ugly glow. Mercer presses his temple to the traverse wheel, metal cold through glove. The lead tank ahead leans into a blind reverse. There's a stone culvert's rectangle where the ditch tightens, a promise of safety 1 vehicle length too far back. He points with whole body, angle left, wedge the idler into the V, let physics haul. The driver takes the blind chance because a man will pick chaos over a gun's geometry. His mirror is dust. He breathes with the tap on the hull, the code he joked about and now loves. Left track whispers faster than right. He bumps edges made by spades wielded years before he was born. Ghosts in gray commit to the lane. Boots find wet chalk under dust where morning drizzle held longer than sun. They think smoke is cover because smoke has always been cover. And who unteaches this at noon? Their corporal sees a white sweep sideways and mistrusts it for a heartbeat. White has been surrender and laundry in this place. He hesitates a second that makes the next one matter more. Levine sweeps the white sheet again. Not frantic, not windmill. Authority learned from stopping a cart before it crushes a child. A rate? He says it like his father did, rolling R's. He sees a tanker glance up. The tilt of a helmet says we share enough to live. He steps 3 higher, taller than Prudence, target if Prudence is watching. Hayes lifts her head between bark and outcome and catches a clean syllable, not hers, not battery. Maybe an officer on a hump with an aerial high in a tree, his words slicing through noise long enough to drop a number in her ear. She writes it on her thigh with a pencil, with no eraser, then taps again because the men don't need that number to live this second. They need the knocks. Weiss's round goes where the belly was and isn't. The tank drops into the culvert's lip as if diving under a net. The shell scrapes a hand's breadth above the engine deck, smashes a stone in the far bank. The crack sounds like a god breaking a tooth. Roots tumble like confetti. For a spiteful second, it smells like warm floorboards. The loader swears in Weiss's ear. Good news, a live man's reflex. Weiss's mouth tightens. Missing is almost worse than killing. Both taste of metal. He flattens his hand to kill the urge to snap another too soon. Another round rides up from a crate. 3 seconds. The second shot will be harder. The American is in partial cover. Chaos is armor when geometry is wrong. Mercer feels the rounds rush, cheeks tingling. He counts himself alive, separate from making decisions. The culvert is savior and trap. Climbing out in reverse under fire is its own cruel story. Hayes's knocks come again. He beats them into the driver's shoulder. Vibration into motion, the cleanest language left. The crossroads squats beyond a ridge and a closing hour. Even if they live, time is stealing inches. The second wrong Sherman reacts late, then backs, but the lane's spine forces it to fumble for a space to leave its nose without tearing it off. Infantry on foot see steel slide and imagine another ambush. They go to ground. 1 second ago that would have saved them. Now they're speed bumps for men in armor. Indy? The corporal curses his flare, curses who taught him the other meanings, throws up a roadman's palm to stop 10 tons by skin. Weiss's second round seats. Ready. Air tightens. He sees a sliver of glacis present as the tank wriggles backward. Perfect is the enemy of done. He takes the shot he has before dust eats the lane whole. The shell clips the right bogey, fans dirt and shale, rattles the hedge bank like hail. The tank hits the culvert lip so hard the bow gunner bangs teeth on his sight. The driver slams clutch and brake. Steel screams. Tracks chew air. Leaves burst on the left hedge. The gun settles again behind nettle fringe. The lane becomes a wrong-way throat with 1 breath left. Inside Mercer's turret the intercom crackles like frying fat. Nora's voice is a shape more than words. Artillery ghosts in, grid numbers, an ordered splash not meant for them. Mercer yanks his headset aside and yells down, "Hold!" Nose left into the bank. Block the hole. But dust makes the world parchment, the hinge a guess. He reaches for the red again and sees only ochre. The mistake is literal in his hand. Across the ditch, Weiss low crawls off the recoil wash, taps the loader, 1 for speed, 2 for patience, and reins the gunner. He wants a hull shot to disable, a fire in a belly to brew panic, while his second team drags ammo up the shallow trench cut through roots. Engines multiply. They're down to 8 AP. The runner for the spare belt hasn't come back. If the Americans keep feeding the gap, he'll get 1 target every 5 seconds until something worse arrives. Levine, halfway up a platted root berm, clutches Hawthorne and rides the shot's vibration into his forearms. He snaps to Mercer's hand, wrong color singing in haze. He cups his hands and yells in gutter French for infantry to the bank, not the lane, and to the tanks a string he hopes is English. "Stop! Back! You wrong way!" His voice lands like a rag on a flood. Nora, with 1 ear to the half-track skin and 1 hand flicking the whip to shake water, hears her own name collapse in static. She jots a fast ledger on her thumb. 2 hears 1? No. 3 hears 1? No. The artillery cadence cuts through again with a long string and a splash. The needle dips. Battery sag. Cold rain earlier, warm frustration now. She pounds the hull, 3 spaced fists, then 4, a code they carved 2 days ago when Hedges swallowed voice. The attached infantry are young, taught smoke means run in 2 fields, but know nothing of that captured flare pistol. A red streak arches, someone else's, and half the men who see it read, "Go," half, "Don't move." 1 private breaks first, ghosting forward. Another follows. The corporal snarls and hooks a knee like he's muscling a calf into a pen, drags both down into drainage that smells of wet hay and diesel. The field pulls them more than orders do. Mercer clock watches in his mind and sees ghosts, a lead tank hung on a lip, a second nosing through the break. A choice crawls into his back. Save the column by abandoning the front pair or pull the gun by charging the kill lane. Neither answer is in the manual. The crossroads ahead is still a ridge away, timed by other people's guns. He forces a choice before choice happens to him. Weiss raises his optic again. The American backed into a perfect trap. If it drops, it blocks. He tells the gunner to aim low and cut the laces. He hears the clean clack of the next shell, seating. 1-2. Smoke clears enough for a picture. Dust thickens. Farmer's linen 20 yards back, shirts and a big white, flutters like signaling fish, bright in murk. It steals a beat of clarity from Lavinia. He does a partisan's math. Any sheet is a flag if you command it. Any window is a message if you insist. White can be surrender, ceasefire, or mask. You cannot surrender to a concealed muzzle. He commits the sheet to halt, not truce. Nora drops from the half-track, runs along its skirt, taps letters on armor with her flashlight's butt. Short, short, long, stop. Long, long, short, reverse. 2 beats. 2. She glances at the only tank with a functional set. The operator sees her, reads the lamp's tilt, and relays with the same chopped rhythm. It's a bastard chain, but it makes sense stick. Inside the lead Sherman, the driver feels the hull's tap like someone walking upstairs. He counts beats, translates to drills half slept through, eases them back 1.5 lengths instead of panicking into full reverse. The rear idler kisses stone, then catches. The tank drops 2 feet, then breathes. Oil and fear share his mouth. Mercer throws his lever and pops smoke from the grenade cup, white, low, and sticky. Not cover for an assault, a wall between wounded front and undamaged rear. The lane turns into a theater of silhouettes. Misreading symbols now can still kill. The risk is as real as the help. Weiss curses at the chemical fog. Smoke is a blade with 2 edges. If it shields an approach, it hides a fall. He orders his flank slit crew to crawl to the alternate loophole behind a rotten stump cut days ago, where a narrow aperture sees the lane from a higher angle. His missing runner matters more. No spare muscle to drag steel. Levine scrambles onto a secondary culvert like a blind socket, sheet wadded under his arm, pulse arguing with lungs. Head and chest show. If you hide, no one listens. He unrolls white to test its bite and backlight, sees it flare toward friends, vanish toward the gun. He sets his stance, checks his footing, and rehearses the crossbody sweep in his head before committing his body to it. Hayes hears, "Check fire, shift 100 north." The phrase can drown them if misread. She locks her jaw, jabs the radio side, and shapes words to survive noise. Halt, reverse, 2. She says them like calling a child through a storm. The infantry corporal drags a man into roots cut like a comb and mutters, "Stay down." Right then, another red flare goes up. For 3 beats, everyone believes the same message landed twice in 2 tongues that never managed a handshake. The ditch feels smaller. Mercer cuts his urge to punish himself for the felled flag. Rescue wins. He noses forward just enough to draw the Pox eye from the wounded pair. He trusts Levine to untangle the confusion he caused. He's betting the gun will snap at what moves with intent over what slips away. He orders his wingman, whoever hears, to hold fire on smoke. Blind shots into hedges kill friends. Weiss sees confidence instead of slop. He pivots. Clip a track to force a flank. Rifle grenades ready as garnish. He signals his machine gun to go ready, but not yet. Restraint costs seconds he may not have, but it buys shape. Half-track dust backlights Lavinia's sheet into a sunblade. He swings a deliberate crossbody sweep, left to right, low to high, the universal halt taught by men who worked roads before cars. He makes it slow, non-negotiable, twice. He offers his chest to sight lines and trusts that probability places a bullet elsewhere. Nora's relay hits rhythm. The working set taps while she voices into static. The phrase becomes muscle memory. Drivers feel code and see white. Loaders who think only of shells register arms and hull drums. Redundant, imperfect signals finally add to clarity. For the first time in minutes, the column behaves as one thing. The lead Sherman listens, brakes hiss, tracks churr. The second, halfway into the brake, chokes back the urge. The loader grips the traverse wheel. The lane is a corridor of ambushes. He spins toward the culvert reflexive, checks himself. The order stands: do not fire into green. A panting German finally bruises through bracken with an ammo box slung on a rope. He tosses it. The loader claws it open. There's more AP, but not much time. Smoke is a screen and a clock. When it thins, it will show truth. A line or a heap. Weiss thumbs a smudge off his optic, inhales vowels for the next order. A farmer down the hedge, his linen drawing more attention than at any harvest, watches a partisan climb onto his culvert with his stolen bedsheet. He thinks of his cows and the 3 sheds that call themselves his life. He chooses silence. He sees the woman with the radio striking her machine like it is both horse and clock. He recognizes craft, not hate. Mercer sees Levine become punctuation against glare. The sweep is imperative. He breathes once and commits. No firing blind. He waits the left track to square his hull for a glancing blow if the pack coughs. He talks himself through it, whispering there, now, because talking eats fear before fear eats you. Weiss's gunner calls ready, clipped. The enemy's big shape moves like nerve. Now, Weiss says, sending speed to steel by habit. The loader slaps the round. Breech locks. The muzzle slides a hair to the new lead. The white sheet swings through the optic, a thing of no meaning to him except motion. But motion can be bait. He holds half a finger's weight for a better sight. Nora feels the instinct to duck, pinch her neck, and refuses it. Eyes up. She watches for acknowledgement or needs to invent more signal. She is out of tricks beyond banging and light. Minds want patterns. If she keeps one, it will bind. In her head, she thanks the man who taught the stupid tap code in a rain-slung tent. She laughed. He had said she wouldn't later. The infantry pressed cheek to roots. One looks through a needle-eye in hedge, sees the mouth of a muzzle. His warning would kill friends if he shouts. He swallows it like a stone, prays someone is writing a grammar upstairs that everyone can read. Levine keeps the sheet high. Cross and lift. The old railway, stop and back. He pairs it with a low whistle a shepherd would use to seal a gesture. He knows optics are on him in the abstract, like feeling eyes on your neck in a cafe. The act has cadence, while fear does not. He imagines the men as a flock drawn back from a gap in fence. Mercer feels his driver answer with motion. The tank takes its angle. He arithmetic maps distances, 20 to culvert, 30 to brake, 40 to the next bend that could hide them. He listens for the pox cough like a diver for props. It does not come immediately. He resists the urge to fill the gap with noise. Weiss sees the lead American show cheek instead of belly. Respect grows. Options thin. Angled shots skate. He recalibrates. Blind if you can't kill. Aim at mantlet. Sheer sight and nerve. Bind turret to hull if lucky. He tightens down and takes the shot without another pause. The round slices across low white and linen ghosts. Levine's sheet reaches apex second sweep. The halt hangs in air like a note you can see. Steel is already on its way. Whether anyone lives to obey depends on where that hiss decides to live. The sheet cuts the lane in two. Everything holds a breath. Turret motors, feet on pedals, the rear half track's idle seems to crouch. Mercer, half out of hatch, hears his own gears grind back from the embankment. The hedgerow crack is a mouth to close on his men. He has seconds to choose cloth and arm over a wire that lies. Trust the bedsheet and the woman's taps, or feed the front pair to the muzzle. Weiss holds again, discipline tight as a helmet strap. He waits for more hull through cut roots. The delay is mercy and threat. It's enough for a driver to stomp the left brake and skid his tank back into the gouged lane, track teeth throwing sparks. The culvert groans. Masonry coughs dust. The tank noses down, belly scraping, engine screaming. The lane itself is a weapon now if they choose wrong. Hayes presses her chin to the set's rim. The hum comes up through bone. The relay she cobbled holds one more spit of taps. She raps out short, long. Halt, reverse 2, then waits. RPMs stagger as one tank, then 2, bite, and back. She taps again because doubt is a killer and rhythm is a rope. Levine's wrist aches. He sweeps and lifts again, cross and up, signal old men used for coal wagons. He screams above it in his broken mix. Arrête! Back! Deux longueurs! He points with his whole body into the culvert shadow. 2 fingers' worth of error will cant the tank belly up, and Weiss will have honesty to shoot at. Weiss adjusts. The barrel squeals left under hand power. The spade bites earth. Men strain on the wheel like rowers. He has too little ammo to guess. Each shot must take something. Patience is killing. The first round's glide off a glacis was a lesson. The second should teach fear. The geometry under him keeps shifting as the enemy wriggles to cover. He picks the second tank if the first hides. Mercer leans from his hatch until the strap digs ribs. The Pock's mouth is a suggestion in a seam. No net, only Hayes's taps in limbs. He raises his whole sleeve like a flag and chops down. Hold. With his free hand, he jabs the intercom and tells his driver to edge right, just enough to snake the gun past head shoulder without showing nose. It's not perfect. It's the only way. The lead driver breathes with his clutch. 2 lengths. He gives 1 1/2. Right track drops, then catches. Rear rises. Culvert stones take weight with a barn door groan. The loader's palms burn on the traverse wheel. The gunner rides crosshairs along hedge seam, staying off the trigger. A blind shot can shred their own ghosts moving in smoke. Discipline costs. Smoke clings low. The misread grenade's pall still makes men into silhouettes. Another red flare throws blood into the light. Half who see it think stop, half move to it. Lavinia's white matters more because of the lie in red. He swings again. A farm wife's linen farther down answers weak. For a beat, he fears domestic wash will swallow his signal. Absurdity almost shakes his stance. He locks his elbow and cuts the lane again. Hayes studies the half-track's canvas. Drizzle beads. Die ran. Memory of Mercer's panel is a bruise. She rips a square from a coated map case insert. She holds it to light. White stays white. She smiles with her teeth, wedges a spare battery so hard the strap squeals, nudges the dial off the artillery bleed a hair. The line clears for a breath, a gift or a tease. Hammer, 1, 2, halt. Reverse 2, enemy gun 12 o'clock. She speaks clip to leave no room for static to eat. Weiss fires for the second tank, the one that took the break when flags read wrong. The shell slices damp air and finds dirt and steel where track meets earth. It tears the fender, hobbles the machine. The hull stays whole. The tank jerks into a wounded animal's gait. Smoke peels off impact, marking the gun for Mercer's own. Tracers lie. Smoke tells the truth. The column takes that information like a gift that hurts. Inside that Sherman, gears grind like teeth. The driver wants to save the track. The commander wants to deny flat surfaces. The turret swings. The hull crawls. Movement over stillness. Sparks throw from metal. AP! AP! No he! The loader yells, lunging for a black-tipped round. He sits on his finger. Shooting into green will kill friends. Discipline is heavier than fear. He swallows it whole. Mercer's gunner finally catches a shimmer, then a cough of light in hedge. He squeezes. The 75 slaps into earth, wood, and a cart drum stored wrong behind the pock. Pins jump. The shield holds. Weiss snarls and orders smoke of his own. A dark can skitters into the lane, hissing. Blind them while they already can't see. In math like this, the side with a pre-registered range wins. Lavinia hears German smoke and knows direction by breath. He pivots on the culvert stone, trades white for motion. He points hard right at a notch in the hedge. Cut roots, flatten nettles. Farmers sneak path the Americans misread all morning as safety. He makes his shadow an arrow. Mercer understands. Flank now. Gamble fractured line for a threat the Pak did not plan. Blindness is two-way. The reward is the gun's sudden ignorance. Hayes feels a tug on the net, a dry, too loud Mercer. By the sheet, right flank, back two, then push. She repeats it spare because extra words die in dust. The battery needle dips. She shoves a wedge against the contacts, keeping her own fingers on metal. One more minute of clarity would be a miracle and just enough to either fix everything or bake in the mistake forever. Weiss catches shadow on his right. Traverse is slow. The hedge is supposed to funnel obedient armor straight. Instead, an American slides along a goat path with inches to spare. Displace or split attention? He barks for the machine gun to keep the center honest and for the wheel to lever the Pak by hand. Roots hold. The spade resists. Time becomes mass under a barrel. The hobbled Sherman commits. Metal screams as branches rake paint. The aerial lashes like a whip. The set inside is one jolt from dropping out again. The commander shoves his periscope hood, sees a bright patch of field, a cleft beyond hedge. He squeezes the driver's shoulder with a hand older than any code. They are the blade meant to gut the ambush, if the ground holds them. In the tunnel, Mercer's loader cranks the traverse like a man hauling a safe uphill. Teeth of the wheel chatter under burnt palms. The gunner seeks that click of understanding, like a hunter reading a twitch in a deer's ear. The German machine gun spits. Tracers rake bark and dust, chase the white like it's a target and not a guide. Lavinia hears air snap near his ribs, drops to a knee, and raises the sheet again. Teaching tanks beats saving his skin. The flank Sherman breaks the hedge like a swimmer through scum. For a breath, it is bare. Turret mid-swing, suspension fighting a ditch, side broad as a billboard. Weiss yanks traverse, you can hear struggle in steel, and drags by inches. He tries to force geometry to fit. Faith in iron. Murder if it works. Hayes hears an answer in hull knocks from that flanking tank, the same ready rhythm she has been tapping at steel. She holds the transmit bar, making the radio wire and drum. She compresses words to shapes. Hit muzzle, shield edge, fire two. Maybe it matters. Maybe they need one more pattern to lock hands in the fog. Mercer imagines where shield edge and barrel must live when a gun is hand-dragged. He remembers hay bales in Oklahoma, walking circles pretending they were German guns. He laughs once at the absurd path that got him here and barks to his gunner, too quick on the seam. The first round slaps dirt and bangs the German shield like a gong. Splinters bury in wrists. The second rides the shield's bevel and sends a needle of iron into the loader's cheek. Blood slicks his grip. Not a kill, but pain is leverage. Disruption is currency. The flanking gunner finds an opening between trunks, the Pak more silhouette than machine. He sees square breech and a wide human eye. He is loaded, no time to fix that. He fires. The hedge blossoms leaves, loam, human shapes flung off balance. The shield's weld screams. Weiss is on his back in the ditch, ears buzzing, dirt in his mouth. Warmth on his face shocks him more than pressure does. In the lane, the machine gun sputters, dies, jam or fear. Its absence is an invitation. Mercer orders another HE into the gun pit because ghosts live in hedges. A man can be working a breach under branches even if you think you broke it. The next blast shoves collapse into certainty. The shape behind leaves is wood and steel turned ruin. The lane inhales. Tanks breathe out dirty air like animals after sprint. Levine lets the sheet go, arm numb, and leans against stone, laughing the clipped laugh of a man who stepped to a cliff's edge and didn't drop. He sees the farm wife's linen further down and feels a kinship bent by war. Two whites, one saved, one confused, both honest to themselves. He points toward the ridge and the crossroad and cuts a new shape, a circle, the move, same body language, bent forward now. Momentum is a language. Hayes stares at the set like it might bite. The artillery bleed returns, calm voices far away, numbers piling. She waits for the words that kill corrections. Fire for effect. They don't come. A battery coolly holds. The tank stopped back of the grid. She grins with dusty teeth and lets the set hum. Plain words again. Gun down, consolidate, check tracks. Weiss rolls to elbows, tastes iron, counts. Two don't answer. One moans a child's note. He measures rounds left against a long stitched hedge. Delay or suicide. He orders a crawl through roots where light shows. He will not feed his men into tanks that learn to talk without radios. His orders are monosyllable. He does not look back at his gun. He measures the next hedge with his eyes and hopes for a runner who will not show. Mercer drops from the hatch, boots in bog. He picks up the white sheet. He holds it beside Hayes's set, shocking white against mud and metal. "Find me a panel that doesn't lie," he says, voice raw. Hayes pulls a crisp square from the map case, signal cloth he forgot they'd been issued because habits weighed more. Bright, true red. They clip it by the hatch where every eye can find it. The cloth's color stays honest in this light. An infantry runner with a smudged face and wide eyes skids to the half-track and throws a hand open and closed. Danger. He babbles the red flare that sent his captain forward, the second red that shouted, "Stop," how men almost walked into one another's bullets in smoke. Mercer nods to the white at his feet, then up to red clipped to steel. He swallows a vow without words. Teach a simple set now and stick to it so the next field doesn't guess itself into graves. Dust drifts down, not in a fall, but a decision. Grains hang, then settle over boots, tracks, faces of men surfacing from hatches like divers. Hedges still loom like old walls. The space between them is less throat now, more hallway they've learned. Engines idle in a low, patient growl, 40 meters spacing. The dream doctrine meets once it survives this place. Fingers brush radios and flag brackets in the same breath, old and new talismans hanging on the same steel. Hayes flips a toggle. The hum tightens. The battery meter steadies at a place that won't lie for a few precious minutes. She seats the handset. Beside it, the clipped panel sits honest, a color that will not confound light. Mercer raises a hand, circles it once in the air, then chops forward. Advance. The column answers. Tracks bite. Dust lifts. They roll toward the ridge and the crossroads before the batteries across the valley shake off their sleep. The hedges ahead are the same, but the first bend is no longer a guess.